Hey, buckle up for a Friday night edition of Sportstown. Tonight, live in studio, we go toe-to-toe with the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis, right here on Lincoln Road. Plus, the Heat in the home stretch and the Eastern Conference title still up for grabs. The latest in the NBA as Heat guard Terry Porter joins the party as well. Plus, the night in baseball, the Marlins and Stros at the Pro. I'm Tim Ring, and this is the half-hour College of Sports Knowledge, a.k.a. Sportstown. Good evening, everybody. Hope your Friday night is treating you well. We begin with the NBA and the recently stunned Miami Heat. A day after an embarrassing loss to the Celtics that uncomfortably delayed their conference title plans, the Heat get a dose of good news today, coming in the form of Alonzo Mourning's return to the practice floor. Zoe, with goggles, worked out for the first time since fracturing his right orbit last Monday. Mourning still pointing to a Sunday return, but for now the Heat trying to find some answers after being stumped by a relatively simple Celtics question last night.
You know, we have to see, how we bounce back. So I'm confident we can get it done. We just got to play a game, and our game, and we got to bring great effort. And we did not bring that last night, and they made us pay, big time.
Much more on the Heat in a little bit as veteran Terry Porter pulls up a chair and joins us live here in studio. TP on hand to talk about the current state of the team, his future in Miami, and his take on Alonzo Mourning's chances for MVP. A visit with Terry Porter coming up in just a little bit. Right now, a very special night here on the town. Lennox Lewis, currently the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, currently 34-1 with 27 KOs, currently at the center of one of the greatest boxing controversies in recent history, and currently right here in the WAMI studios. Please welcome the champ, Lennox Lewis, who's with Mark Jones. Guys.
Lennox, first of all, congratulations on your championship and your last fight, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
Big honor for us here on Sportstown. Have you gotten over the robbery? Straight up.
You can never get over the robbery because people are reminding me every time I walk down the street. They're always saying, "You won that," and they're always saying, "What a ripoff," and what's actually happening right now about it.
What do you anticipate happening in the rematch? Has a date been set? They're talking about maybe October, November, December of this year.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
Any papers signed yet?
Nothing signed yet, and in boxing, anything can happen. So, my hopes are really high. It's an automatic rematch. There was so much outrage about it that the people definitely have to see a rematch.
What went wrong that night? How could that one judge actually see Holyfield winning that fight?
Well, she just wasn't keeping a good eye on the punches that were landing, and she wasn't really scoring my jabs. I don't know, maybe she was a bit biased, but she definitely was incompetent.
What happens in the rematch against Evander Holyfield? I mean, you seem to have solved him very well. Do you think maybe you knock him out next time out?
Yeah, I think the same thing, a bit worse this time. We both know each other. Evander Holyfield can never have the answer for Lennox Lewis because he doesn't. I'm just much too big for him, and I punch harder than him, so he'll just be a little older next time.
Evander has done well in rematches against opponents that he's lost to the first time, like Riddick Bowe.
Yeah, but like I said, he's going to be older this time, and I've still got a lot of things that are unseen yet in my arsenal.
The fact that he predicted the knockout, did that bother you?
It was an insult more than it bothered me. I said, how can he expect to knock me out in 3 rounds when I'm his hardest fight ever?
What about boxing now, the state of boxing? George Foreman was in Congress the other day. Muhammad Ali was in Congress testifying. If you could do one thing about the sport that puts money in your pocket, how would you reform it?
Have one champion and one belt. Okay. Simple.
But what about all of the incestuous relationships between promoters, officials? I mean, Don King actually pays the officials. To me, that seems inherently wrong.
Oh, it's definitely wrong. I mean, there's a lot of boxing in the whole needs overall. It needs a lot of different steps and measures taken to improve it.
Some people talk about open scoring. Do you see that as a solution or not?
I think it'll definitely help because if we can see what the judges are putting down, we can tell if they're incompetent or if they're seeing the same thing we're seeing.
Let's talk about the rematch now. In the first fight, Evander Holyfield was paid the lion's share of the purse. He got more of you. You now, I think, are recognized as the people's champion. Do you feel that you deserve the bigger half? They're talking about a 50-50 split on this one.
Well, I definitely should get more money, but 50-50 split is fine with me. If it gives me a chance to prove myself that I'm the best heavyweight in the world, I think the people already know that already.
You're from Britain, and Britain has a history of heavyweights with a glass jaw. I mean, straight up, people on this side of the world see British heavyweights as a bit soft. I think you'd admit that. Yeah. You certainly are not. Do you feel yourself trying to live up to a certain standard of British heavyweights and maybe even surpass that? You go back to the likes of Henry Cooper.
Yeah, you know, that was a misconception at one time. Lennox Lewis changed all that, and I think a lot of younger boxers coming up will change that as well.
Lennox, we're going to ask you to stick around for a minute and throw your knockout punch after the break. Right now, we're going to throw it back to Tim.
All right.
Tim,
All right, guys, yeah, coming up more with the champ in just a bit, but stick around in a few minutes. We'll get the Port Report with the Heat's sixth man, Terry Porter. That is not Terry, that is Alonzo Mourning, donning the goggles. Stay with us. The Heat beat when Sportstown comes back in just a bit. The sights and sounds of a Friday night on Lincoln Road. Well, back to the NBA. He's one of the league's elder statesmen, and he can still play a little bit too in his 14th season out of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. Terry Porter has been without question the biggest addition to the Heat roster this season, pumping in 10 points a game off of Pat Riley's bench and providing veteran leadership that only a seasoned veteran can procure. Please welcome to Sportstown, Heat guard Terry Porter, Mark Jones.
Terry, thanks for joining us.
Go with the champ, by the way, Mark. Did you rough him up before he left?
Yeah, right.
Hey, Terry, before we get going, every Heat fan, if they were sitting right here, would ask the same thing. What in the world happened last night?
Well, they hit too many threes on us in the third quarter, obviously, and we didn't have enough defenders in their faces. They got some wide open threes, and just like anybody in the pros, when you give them some confidence, you know, everything seems to go well. They make some outside shots, and the layups and the basket seem so much bigger. And Barrows got off to a good start, and then his class just supporting cast just started making layups and made everything go right.
Terry, Ron Mercer and Paul Pierce both seem to have an inordinate number of baskets going into the lane, going through the lane. How much of a difference is it without Zoe in there? Obviously, it seemed to be a lot last night.
It's a huge difference. I mean, Zoe is our last line of defense, so to speak. And
does it put pressure on you guys as perimeter defenders?
It puts, when you don't have Zoe in there, we don't have a shot blocker. It puts a lot of pressure on the defenders, on the perimeter defenders, but also on the team defensive concept, because what happens is if the perimeter gets beat, then the big guys have to rotate over, and then the guards have to drop down and try to block their big guys out. And, you know, last night they did a little bit of everything. They did inside, getting them putting the ball on the floor, and then they started hitting threes and thirds that really hurt us.
Terry, how about Zoe today? Back on the practice floor, what did you see out of him? How much is he going to be hampered, I guess, by the goggles, or will he be hampered at all?
I don't know. He wasn't really, you know, he didn't really do too much banging. He wasn't allowed to do any banging. He did a lot of shooting and a lot of stuff of that nature, low post moves. So I don't know if it's going to hamper him. Now, I'm sure it's got to be some type of adjustment. You know, you put goggles on or put any type of equipment on that you're not accustomed to while you're playing. I'm sure it's going to be some type of minor adjustments you have to take into consideration.
Terry, last night in many ways seemed to show the point that, yeah, Zoe pointing to his heart, that maybe Zoe really is the heart of this Miami team. It seems to be a ringing endorsement that he might be the MVP in the league.
Well, if I had my vote, I guess I would vote for him, no doubt. I think he's meant a lot to our team, not just defensively, which has been a key to us this year, but also offensively. You know, he's scoring 20 points, getting double digits and rebounds. So you look at the stats and you look at the team he's playing for, he definitely should be up there.
Terry, how's your legs holding up? A lot of people said, oh, Terry Porter wasn't supposed to play this many minutes, and he's old, and by the time the playoffs roll around, he's going to be tired. What's the deal? You're all right, huh?
My legs are holding up good. They're holding up good. You know, I think the shortened season's not the best, but I think everybody's had to adjust a little bit. And, you know, obviously, you know, it wasn't the original plan because of, you know, when I first signed here. But, you know, it's just a situation where I'm a professional. I learned how to have to take care of your body and make things happen, and that's basically what it is.
Terry, we're going to get your thoughts on the Eastern Conference race in just a bit. As you know, the conference race still very much in the hands of the Miami Heat, but the Orlando Magic, they only had 2 games left going into tonight, still holding on to a thread that is right now very thin. Tonight, the Magic at home taking on New Jersey and Stephon Marbury, and Marbury had himself a nice ball game. Look at the look right there, all pretty, to Kendall Gill, the former Illini star with the dunk, 9 assists but 36 points for Marbury. But the man of the night, Nick Anderson. Speaking of former Illini, Nick had not 20, not 30, but Mark Jones, he had a 40-point night, just like you over at the gym on a good day. Hey, Horace Grant pulling down the rebound out to Darrell Armstrong, the spark plug Armstrong. Oh, a little Showtime cup dunk right there, and the Magic win it by 10, 107-97. The lead to the Heat right now in the East, only a half game over the Orlando Magic. But the game of the night in the East, Indiana at Atlanta. Pacers a half-game lead in the Central Division. Hawks 7 wins in a row going in. Pick it up, 5 seconds left in the game. Steve Smith, Hawks down by 3. Oh, the former Spartan says, we're going to overtime, baby, tied at 81. In the OT, the Pacers, hey, back-to-back overtime games for Indiana, but their legs did not quit. Reggie Miller, the dunk right there. Reggie had a game-high 21 for Indiana. And then Mark Jackson, arguably the best post-up point guard in the league, spinning right there on Mookie for the high arcer. And Indiana, in overtime, wins it by 2, 92-90. So right now, Terry Porter, the Eastern Conference looks like this. And when you look at those top 8 teams, your thoughts as the Heat's game right now lead over the Magic only a half game. Indiana back a game and a half, but of course they're the second seed if they were to finish this right now.
No doubt. I mean, the race is definitely not over. We got to handle our business. We need 2 more wins and starts tomorrow to get our first one. But no, the teams behind us are definitely, playing pretty well. I think Orlando hit a little skid there with disappointed. But I think, Indiana's kind of hit a little skid too. But I think they're back in the groove, trying to make that final playoff push.
At this point of the year, the games remaining become so critical. You guys start with the Chicago Bulls, and then you get a look at the Charlotte Hornets on Sunday, followed by the Hawks on Tuesday. 2 games you'll see on Whammy Plus. Wednesday finishing up against the Knicks. The Magic have a game against Chicago, and then you see the respective schedules of Indiana and Atlanta. Terry, you and I were talking before the show that as it works out now, you would play the Knicks, and then getting by them, it would be Indiana. It'd be pretty taxing on you.
Yeah, it could be, but that's all part of the chase to the the finals. It's been a situation. I'm sure it's not a situation where Indiana would be happy about. Obviously, the big win tonight for them at Atlanta has really helped them out tremendously as far as getting a chance to win the Central Division. But in the playoffs, when it comes time, you just got to play the team in front of you. And obviously, playing the Knicks looks like we're going to end up playing the Knicks in the first round. And if Indiana holds on to their position, we're going to probably play Indiana in the second round. So those are 2 very worthy opponents.
Wow.
And we're going to definitely have our work cut out for us.
But Terry, I got to ask you about opening with the Knicks. Now, all the fellas down on the playground are probably saying something to the extent of, boy, if they open up with the Knicks, that's going to be an emotionally draining series. We don't want to see the Knicks. Yeah, they'll probably beat the Knicks, but, man, that's going to be tough. Your thoughts on that philosophy?
Well, I don't have all the baggage that some of the other guys have as far as the Knicks, the rally the last couple of years that whole situation has played out. Obviously, it's the playoffs, and it's going to be very intense, and obviously the Knicks Heat rivalry is going to probably even take it up another notch. But, I think it's going to be one that's going to be very physical, and we're going to both teams going to need to play their game.
Well, Terry, you still have all your teeth, so if you do play the Knicks, put that mouth guard in.
Put that mouth guard in.
Thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
All right, thank you guys for having me.
Terry Porter coming up after a break. Let's hope they were giving away tape measures tonight. The fans at Pro Player really needed them. A little history being made at the Marlins game. Unfortunately, it wasn't made by the Marlins. Details after the break.